Hi everyone, it's Kimberly with Hip to Be Squared. I want to welcome you to our first Video Tutorial Tuesday. Today I have a great tip to share with you on yet another way to use some of your scraps in creating a custom pattern paper for a card or a layout. So what I've got here are 3 different pattern paper scraps left over from my April hip kit. And oftentimes you get to the very end of your kits and all you have are bits and pieces. This will show you how easy it is to create something that will enable you to get yet another card or a layout out of that month's kit. Super easy, and you won't believe how cute it is when we get finished. So what I've got here are 3 pattern papers. We've got one with a really subtle print, one with a small random floral, and the other has a repetitive geometric print that's a little bit more on the bold side. You want to keep with smaller prints because if you have something too large, when we get these things cut down into smaller pieces, you won't see any of your prints. So you want to make sure that you've used something smaller. These strips are 1 inch wide, and we're going to cut them down into 1 inch squares. You can use a square punch on a larger scrap if you'd like, but you're going to waste a lot of paper that way, and it actually isn't any quicker to do that, to use a punch. And also if you're trying to punch out of a gingham or a stripe, you want to make sure that your lines are straight, and it's really difficult to do that. And in order for you to put forth the effort so that your stripes are straight, it's going to take a lot longer. And so quick and easy is the best route. So use your paper trimmer to trim your strips down into 1 inch squares. So what you do, take your paper trimmer, slide your ruler out. Probably most of you already know this, but this strip is 10 inches, so you'll want to have your far edge on the 9 and have your paper lined up against the paper guide at the top. Put the arm down and slide your blade, and easy as that, you've got a 1 inch square. And you'll continue to do that with all of your strips until you have a whole pile of little 1 inch squares. And this is kind of what it will look like. I've already cut a bunch, and some of them I've already cut into triangles also. So what you'll do is you're going to want to cut each one of the squares down into a triangle. So take your scissors and go corner to corner, and you'll create a triangle. And this is the perfect size. We're going to create a little 4 by 6 inch quilt using all of these triangles. And the thing that I like to use best to glue them down is the Ranger Glossy Accents, because it goes on really easily and it dries really quickly and it will not warp your paper. It's got a super fine tip applicator, so it enables you to control exactly how much you put on to each piece. And if you use a tape runner, you won't be able to get all the fine points on your triangle glued down. And so what'll happen over time, they'll kind of start to curl up, and then it makes it look kind of sloppy. So this will make it look nice and neat and super easy. So what you'll do is you will start with your adhesive, and you'll run a fine bead of adhesive around the edge of your triangle, and then you'll lay your triangle down starting with the corner of your white cardstock, and you're going to want to leave just a slight border around the edge. And also too, you aren't going to want to have your triangles butted up next to one another. You're going to want to have a little bit of space, because having that contrast of the white around each triangle is really nice. Oh, right there, that one wasn't cut very well. And on the bottom row, I want to use only gingham because it gives kind of a nice foundation to be able to build from. So in my little paper pieced quilt, if you will, I'm gonna do a 4x6 because there's a lot of pattern with all of these different designs, and I would rather have it be a splash of color than something so overwhelming that your eye doesn't know what to look at. So we'll start the bottom with the solid line of gingham, and then we'll add some other pieces. But I want to have a solid edge going up the side also, so we'll turn a few of the triangles and have them going up the edge. So in essence, we're creating a rectangle made up of little triangles. And I want this to look like it's really random. Like there's no rhyme or reason or pre-planning that went on as I put this together. So, and the other nice thing is if you decide once the whole thing is done that you haven't properly placed, you know, a triangle, and that you really, instead of a red here, you'd rather have a floral. All the triangles are exactly the same size, so you can easily lay one over the other and no one will know the difference. So just kind of, you can play with it as you go. Let's see here. I didn't cut all of these as I was, probably better to sit and cut all of them, but didn't do that this time. But if you notice, there's a white edge in between each triangle. And so rather than having you watch me continue to put this together, I will kind of show you what it looks like as you move along. So here's one that has a couple of rows done. And what I did is I just kept going up until I got to approximately 4x6. And then I put the white cardstock in my paper trimmer and I trimmed around the edge, which left me with a little quilted rectangle or paper pieced rectangle of different patterned scraps. And I used this to create a layout, to accent a layout actually. And honestly, as I was working with this, I tried several different combinations. I loved the colors in our April kit, and so I initially thought I would try using yellow. But if you look at this, there's so many colors going on, same exact papers. Well, I guess one of them is flipped, but the yellow just makes it look so much busier. So I think that I really liked it with the neutral white, and I think it really allowed you to kind of take in each individual pattern. So sometimes you have to play with it a little bit, but when in doubt, neutral always will work. So here is the layout that I created with my little quilted square. And if you, let's see, I'm still getting the video thing down, so bear with me here. So what I did is I had a solid white piece of cardstock, and I believe it was like 12x6 probably. And I just took my little paper pieced quilt, And I added that into my layout just to give a little bit of an accent, kind of like I do that oftentimes with my pattern paper anyway. I don't want to use so much of it that you can't see anything else on my page. I want to be able to look at the picture, and I want to be able to look at all the other elements on my page. So sometimes just adding a little splash of color and pattern works best. And I think that you'll see that here. My background was just a piece of craft cardstock, and I used a couple of other random scraps that I had left, some alphabet left over from my April hip kit, and added a little bit of machine stitching. The little circle around the loved over here was a wood veneer shape from Studio Calico, and in our embellishment add-on kit we included the wood veneers and then also a bottle of the Mr. Huey's mist in yellow, I believe it's taxi cab yellow. And so I just sprayed that and kind of put it all together, and it came together really, really nicely. So there you have it. Just a few scraps and a little elbow grease enabled me to create this awesome pattern paper that perfectly accented my layout. Hopefully my project and tutorial this week have inspired you to pull out some of your scraps and get to work. You'll be amazed at how easy it is and how far you can actually stretch just a couple of scraps. Make sure you stop by next Tuesday for our next Hip to Be Square Tutorial Tuesday video. Until then, happy scrapping, and I'll see you next week. Bye.